Hey, y'all, welcome back to Toilets to Titles. My name is Justin Stevens, and I am back with our preseason previews. I'm going to be breaking down the Las Vegas Raiders today, and this one goes out to our boy Richard, who is a constant listener, a big fan of the show. So I jumped the AFC West ahead of the AFC East just to make sure that we got this in for you, Richard. It's a new camera as well, so I'm hoping that this new camera doesn't turn out to be as blurry whenever you're watching the show as my laptop cam was. So some of you have commented about that in our previous YouTube videos, but you still keep commenting, so I know you're still watching. So hopefully now at least you can see me a little better. Okay, so I'm just going to jump right into it. Go ahead and get to the banners here. You can catch us at Toilets and Titles. You can also catch the co-host at Coach Sheps, the other co-host at Nate_Dirt19, myself at JustinFF_. Of course, you already know that you can listen to our main shows on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, and Spotify. And I really want to try to encourage you guys to check out tomorrow night's show, because we will be going live tomorrow night around 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, and we will be going over our side bets, our bathroom board bets. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Still not exactly for sure what we have at stake in those bets. I'm thinking maybe a special tattoo for the losers, but I don't think that John and Nate are going for it. But hey, you know what? I'm up for it. I'm down. Right now you're watching on YouTube. You can also catch us on Periscope as well. So. All right, so for the Raiders, I've got the fantasy studs. And honestly, I don't see a whole lot here when it comes to fantasy studs, but Josh Jacobs could potentially be a fantasy stud. So I'm going to talk about him here for quite a bit. Because if it's going to be anybody, it's going to be Josh Jacobs. His AEP is at the 201, which is the 8th overall running back right now. Kind of high, but as a rookie last season, he did have the 9th most yards created from the 90th in fantasy points per opportunity. So he was really bad in points per opportunity, kind of like how Leonard Fournette was last season. But he did a lot since he got so much opportunity, he actually did score pretty well overall. He was 15th overall in fantasy points per game played. So he is the workhorse back whenever he's in there. One thing that concerns me, though, is that all 7 of his touchdowns last season came in the same 4 games, and that was against Denver's 16th ranked run defense, at home against Chicago, and Chicago's run defense was 23rd on the road. A lot of people don't realize that. They were horrible on the road last season. And then 21st ranked Detroit and 18th ranked the Chargers. Those were his 4 big games. And outside of those 4 big games, Josh Jacobs really didn't do a heck of a lot. I see somebody's watching. If you could comment if there's any issues with the video feed or the sound at all, because this is new. I don't want to get 18 minutes into this and then find out that people can't hear or see me or something. So if you would just drop me a line there. Okay, so all right. Oh, yeah. And so this upcoming season, Josh Jacobs only has a few games where it looks like he's going to be going up against a team that was weak against the run last season. Okay, so that's something to consider. Joshua over at Fusion Fantasy Football has pointed out a huge lack in his receiving game. Only 20 catches from last season. And then Washington and Jalen Richard weren't even the third down backs, but when Jacobs wasn't in there and they were given the opportunity, all of a sudden cars started throwing to the running backs a little bit more. But I also am hearing out of camp right now that Josh Jacobs has been working on his passing game all offseason, and that he's hoping to be a little bit more involved in that passing game. Right now, Nate, myself, and John all have him ranked as our RB11. And Joshua has him at 14. So I don't think that Joshua's buying into what they're laying down out there in camp. But he did catch 74% of the passes that were thrown his way that he was actually able to catch, if you take away the throwaways and that sort of thing. So Um, let's see. The positives to him, he was third overall in breakaway runs and eighth in evaded tackles. That's huge for a rookie. That means that he does have the ability. He's got the game and the skill to be a decent running back in this league. Let's see. So he's clearly talented enough. So at the 201 for his ADP, here's my take on him. If I'm at the turn or just before the turn, and I get another running back in the first round, I'm not opposed to taking Josh Jacobs as my second running back. I'm not opposed to doing that at all. I do think he'll be a decent number two. He'll be a number one some weeks, but I just don't know that I want to rely on that as my RB number one necessarily. But if I have to, because I don't take a running back in the first round and he's the best available in the second, then I'm also not opposed to it, because if he does work on that pass game, he does have the potential to be the stud workhorse back. I also want to kind of bring up my guy Neil over at Clock Dodgers. For those of you that don't listen to Clock Dodgers, he just did pretty recently an entire episode pretty much all about Josh Jacobs. He's also a huge Raiders fan, so that's something to consider as well. So he keeps up with them year round. He knows the ins and outs of the team. So you might download his podcast and listen to the Clock Dodgers. Let's see. So I feel the talent is there. He also less than 55% of the snap share as a rookie. Part of that comes from him missing 3 games as well. So if he gets those 3 games back, he improves his numbers even a little bit more. Right out the gate, he could potentially be an RB1 for you. But 55% of the snap share, and then so pretty much it's a little bit more of a risk and not quite as much of a reward, big play type of guy. All right, so the next category, stay tuned for the breakouts. So Tyrell Williams is already out again with a torn shoulder this time, a shoulder labrum. So he said he's gonna try to play through the injury, but likely he's gonna be as ineffective as he usually is. But one wide receiver to look out for, as Coach Sheps would tell you, is Hunter Renfrow. He's really big on Hunter Renfrow. He has been all off season. So that was even before the Tyrell injury. So he's also the only veteran they have on the team and outside of Tyrell, and he only has 1 year under his belt as well. His comps coming out of college weren't all that impressive, though, but he did finish as a wide receiver 1 both of the last 2 weeks. It was actually, I think, wide receiver 6 and 8, if I remember right. Both of the last 2 weeks. So he ended the season really well. So he has the potential there. But outside of those 2 big games and 1 other game, so outside of those 3 games, he didn't break 5 catches in a single game the rest of the season. So that's something to consider as well. Let's see. Henry Ruggs, the rookie out of Alabama, his ADP right now is early 12th round for their let's see. And then there was another one I had mentioned here. Oh, and Brian Edwards. So for those 2, I would highly suggest you try to dive after him for dynasty purposes, and maybe even Ruggs in redraft because it is so late. Early 12th round, if you can get a wide receiver that has the potential to be the wide receiver 1 for his team, I don't really care what team it is or who the quarterback is, at that ADP, then there's nothing but upside. If he doesn't pan out, then he doesn't pan out. So be it. Get a great job to the guy that got Hunter Renfrow, but the great job will be going to you if he does end up being the number 1. So you get him late 11th round, early 12th, then I'm all for it, because at that point he's your wide receiver 4 or 5. All right. Going to jump straight to the Mr. Reliable on this one instead of the beware of letdowns. I'll get to that in a minute, because Mr. Reliable is the only wide receiver that's really left in that offense, and it's the tight end, Darren Waller. I think Darren Waller is going to be the guy to have in this offense that's going to consistently get you points. And after studying up on him a little bit more today, I actually bumped him up in my tight end rankings. I've got that pulled up here. I'll take a look. I have him 4th right now. I bumped him up over Zach Ertz even. And again, you guys know that I'm not a big Zach Ertz fan, and as long as those wide receivers stay healthy, his targets go down, I'm not saying those wide receivers are going to stay healthy, but I do think they have a better wide receiving core. And if they stay healthy, then Ertz's targets will stay down. And it's the exact opposite for Waller. He's in an offense that does pass the ball a lot, and he's the number one, most likely the number one target since Tyrell Williams is down. And even if another receiver does step up, he's still the number 2 target in that offense. So at least they throw the ball a lot as well. So personally, let's see. Yeah, he's the only sure thing returning for Derek Carr. His ADP is 502 as the tight end 5 overall. Again, he's my tight end 4, so of course I'm going to think he's Mr. Reliable at the 502. So if I can get him early 5th, late 4th round, then I'm going to jump on that opportunity. So the dude only had 3 touchdowns last season. That's something to consider as well. His touchdowns have to come up because Foster Moreau sniped 5 of them, 5 touchdowns from him. So if he can even get 6 touchdowns, he's going to definitely jump up into that top 5 easy, maybe top 4. The letdowns, I'm going to go back to Josh Jacobs because of his ADP. Again, I feel like with Josh Jacobs' ADP being as high as it is, that early second round, I know I chose him as the fantasy stud just because I felt like he was the only one that could potentially be a fantasy stud. But I think just as likely is for him to be a break or a letdown because, like I said, essentially he has to improve in that passing game. And we've yet to see proof that he has improved in the passing game. If he doesn't improve in the passing game, then he's not going to likely he's not likely going to play up to his what you're paying to get him. And thank you, Steve, for commenting. So now I know that the video and the audio is working. Steve agrees with me that Waller is the man. And also in the 4th round of our draft that we have on Sunday, Steve picks right before me. So he very likely might take him in the 4th round just so that I can't get him, which is okay. Letdowns, everyone but Waller. Okay. All right. I don't know that I agree with that. I think at least a wide receiver will step it up. I don't know which one, but I think a wide receiver will connect with Derek Carr. And I know that Coach Shepps would say that it's Renfro. I kind of think that I would lay down money on Ruggs if I had money, but and then Josh Jacobs, if he drops a few spots, I'll take Josh Jacobs as well. Derek Carr is going so late that he's not a bad late round guy either as a QB2 or a streaming quarterback. But as far as Jacobs goes, I've already kind of hit up on that. But yeah, I think there's just as much of a chance that Jacobs could be a disappointment as there is that he could overplay his ADP and actually be a reliable stud. All right, IDP names to know. Corey Littleton. So I was able to pick up Corey Littleton last season in a startup IDP league, one of my first IDP leagues, and absolutely loved having him on the team. And I think that he's going to make an immediate impact with this Raiders team. He racks up the tackles like crazy, which are huge points in fantasy football and IDP leagues. So he's coming over from the Rams, and he had 6 turnovers and 3.5 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, and a combined 135 tackles and assisted tackles combined. So, like I said, he's a tackle machine. He's going to rack up those fantasy points. Now, for Dynasty, I'm looking for Cleveland Farrell and Max Crosby, who are both edge rushers or defensive ends, depending on which format you use. But as a rookie, Farrell had 5 batted passes and 8 tackles for loss. And then Max Crosby had an impressive 10 sacks in his rookie season. So both of these guys were rookies last year, and both of them had an immediate huge impact, which also could bode well for Littleton if those two are up front. Some of that heat off so he can hit the holes and gather up even more tackles. So let's see. That's kind of what I have for you. I think after the last show, I kind of thought that I wanted to add another category to this. Originally, Coach Shepps had put in something about backups, and I had kind of forgotten about it through my first few, so I just rolled with it. But I think I want to add backups because they're just as important, really, in the preseason breakdowns, because like a guy like Foster Moreau, who is the guy that's been sniping those red zone targets, if he continues to do that, then he's going to be a viable tight end streamer in my mind. And then let's see, Washington went to Kansas City, so you don't have to worry about Washington anymore. But they did re-sign Jalen Richard. So with Josh Jacobs having that history of not being the lead back for in Alabama all those years, and then last year breaking down a little bit and missing a few games and not playing well in the passing game, there's a chance that Jalen Richard could be on your target list for a late round flyer as well. So just some things to keep in mind there. But essentially, that's really all I have for you for this breakdown. I see some more comments here. Did I miss the Renfro segment? Coach. All right, it's going to be back up again tomorrow, but yes, I did talk about Renfro for you, bud. All right, cool. So the video is much better according to the live anyway. This video should drop tomorrow, so we'll be checking it out tomorrow to make sure that it keeps going well. I got this webcam for college because I'm going back to school, but luckily we're going to be able to use this as a dual purpose. Jonathan Abram. I'm guessing that's an IDP guy. So, Coach, that is exactly why I need you to try to do more of these preview breakdowns if you can, because you're the IDP guy. I don't know who this Abram guy is. I mean, I guess I've heard the name, but I don't know. If you want, hey, go ahead and type something in here if you want me to say it. I'll hold off. I'll wait just a little bit for you. All right, so I'm going to stall here. Let's see. What else do we got, So the Tyrell Williams injury is, like I said, it's a torn shoulder labrum. Most likely going to be out the first week or two, but there is still a chance that he could start the season on PUP. If he starts the season on PUP, he's going to be out for 6 weeks. So that boosts that Darren Waller up a little bit more even. Let's see. Lynn Bowden, somebody else I didn't mention. He's a rookie this year out of Kentucky. The dude in college, he played quarterback, wide receiver, and when I say wide receiver, he played some slot. He played some wide out. He played running back and quarterback. The dude, he's all over the field, athletic, just an absolute freak when it comes to football mentality. He can learn a playbook really easily. So I think he's going to be a guy that Gruden likes. It's we don't really know what he's going to be like in the NFL just yet, because he is coming out of Kentucky and they didn't have the toughest of the competition there, where he was viable, I guess I want to say. But we do know that he's athletic, he has the talent, and as soon as they figure out how to utilize him, I think in Dynasty he's worth locking up as well. Let's see. Stud safety, lock him in. That is Jonathan Abram for your Las Vegas Raiders. So, all right. So I stalled that long for that. All right, cool. All right. So I'm already almost 20 minutes into it. I don't like these breakdowns to be this long. So this will be posted tomorrow, and I'm going to get a nice thumbnail created here for you guys. You know how I love that. But so peace out. Don't forget, continue to love each other. We're all in this together.